Don, back with the next progress report on the Corsair. As you can see, I got the cowling set in place now where it's going to go. I got the propeller hub on there with one bolt. The bolt's too short, but today I did order 6 new bolts for this, which are just one size longer, 1 or 2 sizes longer than that bolt there. So that kind of gives you an idea. So now if you look at the cowling, you can't see the starter. There's the starter. Now you can't see it. Right there is flush. So that worked well. What I ended up doing is somebody mentioned making a ring, and I wasn't quite sure what he was talking about a ring. I knew he was talking about some kind of ring around to do an extension on the cowling. So then I thought, all right, this way. I did it this way. This is a 3.5 inch strip of aluminum. Goes all the way up around to the other side. Now, this cowling is 1 inch bigger back here than it is up here, so there's a 1/2 inch of taper in it. So if you just take that piece of aluminum and put it on there and bolt it down, it's going to be straight, and the cowling is going to be curved, so it won't match up perfectly. So I had to, I set it so it's 1.5 inches. All these bolt holes are 1.5 inches. So I started here a 1/2 inch in, drilled that, then drilled this 1.5 inches, and I put that in there and bolted it on. And what it did is it caused this strip to bend because it's got to be tapered inward. So it stuck out clear back here, you know, like 3/4 of an inch. So up here, it's only about this big, but it's all it needs. These bolts are the original bolts that go here, and there's a piece of wooden dowel bonded inside of this, so that's a hard point. So, and then you can see I took some marker and I marked this because I'm still going to cut these back out. Well, I'm not going to cut them out to this size. I'm going to make them a little smaller because now they're going to be way bigger than before. They were just going to be essentially like 1 inch. So now they're going to be 1.5 inches to 2 inches. I'll probably leave maybe like a 1/2 inch around here. This one I can either leave that on there, cut it off, or leave this on there, but I'd have to cut this out the same as the rest. But it's okay. But what I had to do is after I got this on here, and then I took a piece of masking tape and I run it down through here, and I marked a 1/2 inch here, started at 0, 1/2 here, 1/2 here, and then I run a piece of tape, and that gave me that arc. So both sides are done. I just got 3 screws holding it in there. But, that's how it's going to look. Now this, the cowl flaps we're only going to start here and stick out like this, around all the way around to the bottom, to the opening on the bottom. Because even on the original real one, this is solid back here, so I may have to build this out with fiberglass. I could probably build it right into the cowl flap. This will be flat. The cowl flap is actually going to come all the way up to here now. I have my little pointer stick here again. So the cowl flaps are going to come out. You won't see these screws when it's done. The cowl flaps are going to be clear out here, and they're going to come out. So they're going to be 4.5 inches, 5 inches long, at least 4.5 inches. So they're going to, but up here it's going to be flat. But I can build that into the cowl flap so it's straight, and then it's going to jog up and then go all the way around. So I'll go ahead and I'll just show you. I've got the oil tank like 95% finished. So this is what I come up with so far. There's my thing, and this will line this up right in there. It's going to be back in a little bit, but you'll be able to reach in here and adjust it. I'll pull this off here in a minute so I can show you this. So there's the 2 fittings. Now somebody asked about the return line. You got, this is the front one, is the feed line to the oil pump. So the gravity feeds into the pump can suck it in also. And then this is the return, and someone says, you're trying to return the oil into the oil. Why don't you return the oil up here in the air chamber? Well, it is. This fitting has a tube attached to it. It goes all the way up to the top of the tank, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch from the top. So the return oil goes in through there, passes all the way up through that tube, and then discharges out here on the top end. Because this thing will be filled up, you know, and when it's running, the oil level is going to probably be clear up into here. So if all goes well. And then I welded on 3 good-sized tabs. Right now I just got them drilled for a 3/16 hole. But I had a hell of a time welding aluminum in these tight corners is always a royal pain in the ass. And then it didn't help that I was running out of argon. I kept going, and it was getting to the point where the skin, if you try to melt aluminum without argon, it'll melt underneath the skin, and it leaves this gray skin that starts wrinkling up. And that's because of the shielded gases in there. But I was still showing, I had 15 SCFM or SCFH, I think it's SCFM, flow where I normally run it, but it was welding terrible. I was like, it's running like it ain't got no gas. But I look at the flow meter and it's still showing what I had it set for. But the tank was almost empty, and the pressure, I don't know what those regulators regulate the pressure down to. But this tank here only was 1600 psi, but they're supposed to fill them up to like 2000. But the regulator regulates it all the way down to just a couple of psi, and I think what it was is it was getting down to the point where the regulator was barely letting what was left in there at low pressure through the system. Even though the little regulator I use, all it does is just a needle valve that opens and lets more gas in and makes the little check ball float. But it still has to have some kind of pressure coming out of it, and I don't know what it is. But it was enough that it was causing really bad welding problems. So once I went and got a new tank today, that was $62 for another 125 size tank. And then I went back over this again, and I was able to reflow it and clean it up some. But there's still a little bit of grain burning on there where I had the hardest time of heating it up. And then, of course, I put that fitting bung in there, and that's the one that's going to go to the PCV valve on the intake manifold. So that's going to be a short piece of 5/8 hose. So that's essentially done, other than one last fitting somewhere for fresh air. It needs a fresh air vent, because when the PCV works, it's going to be sucking the fumes from the engine that come up into the oil, be sucking through there, as well as fresh air has to be drawn in and sucked in with it as well. Plus it needs the fresh air for the oil to work properly. So this is all done. This piece is actually press fitted into this. I didn't weld it. I've got that pressed in. There's like 4 or 5 thousandths press fit on that part. And then again, this thing is got that rubber gasket. So, but I'm opened the hole right up to the same size, so it'll be easy to get the oil in. And then somebody asked about draining the oil. How are you going to drain the oil? Simple. You just disconnect the hose off the bottom of the motor. All right, let me see. I throw something at you here. I just looked at before I went in to get my camera. I was looking at this muffler. I swung it up here out of the way, but I got the oil lines all cut to size now. As you can see, this is the oil pump again, inlet of the pump, and that goes into the fitting on the front of the tank, and then the back fitting is the oil return. Here's the bottom of the block. Oil blows out of there, goes in, and blows all up into the tank. So those, all you had to do is cut that hose. That was the perfect length. And on this side, I almost missed it. See, right there's my oil filter mount. So the problem I had was this hose has got to fit around that oil filter. So it was just long enough to clear that. And I ended up ordering the Adele clamps, the 3-inch for that. I ordered 2 clamps that'll fit the 1-inch hose, and I ordered 2 clamps to fit this 5/8 hose and that 5/8 hose. So I got clamps coming. I got 6 new bolts coming. I ordered 10 extra nylon lock nuts. Got those coming. So I'm going to put 6 fresh nuts on there. All right, let me grab this, make some noise. I don't feel like stopping the video. It'd help if I grab the right drill. This is the drill. This is my impact. I'm going to get back to that comment on the muffler. I was meant to mentioned the tube in there last week, or Sunday night, excuse me. Got sidetracked and didn't get back to it. This is kind of sprung a little bit too. Sprung out some, probably from my repair patches. Okay, so off with this. So I kind of see how it actually sits flush on the floor. There's no gap. There, the floor is probably not perfect, but yeah, you can see it's nice and flush. Before it would have sat like this, and it wouldn't fit on the airplane. So they do make some good glue. I used it on my rotor blades when I had to patch my rotor blade once. They make a glue, 3M makes a glue for aluminum, bonding aluminum together. All these new rotor blades for gyrocopters, if they're aluminum, they're all glued together now. There's no rivets anymore. So I think that glue comes in small tubes. I can probably get some of that and glue these strips in. And then on the top, it's going to get some fiberglass work to finish off. But that's kind of what that looks like. You know, I could possibly add more screws in here, but you're just going against the foam and the fiberglass. This actually, like I said, has hardwood dowels in there that the bolts come through, so you can't crush it. You put anything in between here like that, bolt it, they'll probably work and want to work themselves loose. So I'll give her some thought, but the best thing would be to try and glue them in. The epoxy, fiberglass epoxy won't work. Alright, so back to this. Just going down there and hitting my hoses right now because they're not pulled all the way. So again, there's the hose for the PCV vent right to there. And then all I got to do is locate and punch 3 holes, bolt that in, and with that, like I said, with the cowling on there, that opening's right there where I can get to it. And then again, the fittings. This is the back one, that's the front one. So I don't know if you can see that or not. Might be a little dark. Here's one 8L clamp already, but this still needs to be pulled out, taped, and screwed in and tightened down. So that'll work good. Okay, now what I was looking at is, see where that muffler is right now? If you look at it from the front side, the cowling clears fine. But what I was thinking, why can't I just put it here, leave it here? Not like this. I will take this, basically I unbolt this, turn it around, and swing it back up here. The exhausts are already down here, but they're pointing forward. But if I flip it around, they might be on the high side, but I was thinking, geez, you know, why wouldn't that work? Put it up here, and then just run some tubes from here out to there. But they're coming out the front side, but that damn near almost work. Since I'm not going to put the battery here, someone did ask about the battery. Oh my god, this thing's heavy. It's like 20 pounds. But essentially going to go right there. It'll come clear up into here though. It's just sitting on the tank for right now, but I can't use 2 hands, but it'll fit. It'll still fit. Oh dear, that thing is heavy. That's a motorcycle battery. I think it was for like a Harley or something. Got it from O'Reilly's probably 4 or 5 years ago. It's been a really good battery. I'm really impressed with it. So that's kind of where I'm at with everything. But that'd be interesting. I could, you know, this could be taken off there and flipped over, but it's just as easy to unbolt the whole thing, spin it around, and it'll be back here again, and fold it back up this way. Because this is meant to go on the bottom of the cowling, these cutouts. But it could be flipped over. If I had to, I could close them up and just put another hole in here and run her back to there. I do have more of this tubing left, so even if I had to, I could still make another one of these. Just pull the guts out of it, because the guts aren't welded in there, they're free floating. They're pinned so they can't spin around, but I could flip her around and put her right up front here, maybe even shorten it up just a little bit, let it sit under here, and that way it's not back here by the motor mounts, by the oil lines, by the coolant hoses. The only hose I got to worry about is this, and I can kind of rebend this a little bit out of the way if it was to sit up here somewhere. But it's an idea, it's a thought, because I'll try that lower cowl. Let me show you that real quick. So here's the lower cowl. Same concept. This piece though, I already laid it up against the other one and I traced it and I trimmed it. When I cut this one out, the table saw ended up grabbing, catching the thing, and it actually tore a chunk off clear back here. And it spit it out and right across my hand there. Through the thing, I was clear over here. It threw that part clear over in front door and the steps the other side of the cars. It was just a little strip of aluminum. But I think when it spit it out, it's like a piece of this. I think that hit my hand because I was standing on the side of the saw, feeding it across this way. I wasn't the saw, I wasn't pushing through the saw. I wasn't on the saw like this. I was off to the side, sliding it through there, just trimming that edge. Oh, and then also, I got my 1/4-inch plate, folks. There's my 1/4-inch plate to make this. And also, I got plenty there to make the air filter plate. Need a bottom piece and a top piece. The top piece can be, thin. It doesn't have to be this 1/4-inch. I just need this because it's going to get machined down to a pocket so that air filter sets down in a little recess so it can't move. And the top, I'll just use, I probably got some 90 thou or something that's big enough to make the disc for the top. So now I can cut this out. And then that was $45. The argon was $62. And the parts for the bolts and some nuts and hose clamps and all that was $25 for the parts, but it was $10 shipping, so there's $35 for it. So I spent $200 today. And I still have to order the wideband oxygen sensor, which is another $200 purchase. I'm going to purchase that from Summit Racing Equipment, which is just down the street in Akron, Ohio, which is close to a 2-hour drive for me. It's not that bad. A lot of times if I ordered something first thing in the morning, you'll have it the next day. These parts coming from Aircraft Spruce will probably be here. They're coming out of Pennsylvania, a warehouse. And I've gotten, like I ordered these tires on the next day. But it'll probably be Thursday. Today was just absolutely gorgeous. 75 degrees and just comfortable. Low humidity. Been beautiful. Yesterday wasn't bad. Tomorrow they're calling for the heat and humidity to kick right back up again. So that's what we're looking at for today. But had the door open all day today. It felt so good. So this thing here is a little tricky to work with, but hardest thing is this one. This one's actually going to get cut in the middle, and then this, because this end was damaged, this is just going to be slid over to this opening right here, So I'm going to cut that in half, and it'll start here and go up, and then I can lop off the damaged part, because it's not going to go across here. That's going to stay open for airflow. So it's only going to start here, go around, and it comes back in about 1.5 inches. It's 1.5 inches from here to there, so it's 2 inches from 2 inches from here to the edge, and it's 3.5 inches long overall, wide, 3.5 in the center, and it tapers down. So once I start this in the center here, this will actually start over here and be cutting off, like 6 inches. This is where the muffler was going to end up, where I was probably going to have to cut out some of this, but since I moved the engine up, it would now clear in there. And actually there's more room up here because this is thinner and the muffler's working. So I'm going to give that some serious thought. That might work great because it's just going to eliminate a lot of excess heat. So, well, I guess I better get going. The wife's already started dinner. She's making burgers and fries for tonight. But yeah, I kind of like that idea. Looking at that muffler up there. just gets all that heat away from this, gets it away from the motor mounts, the oil lines, coolant lines. So now I'm ready. As soon as that tank's hooked up, as soon as I get the vent hooked up, this will be ready to bolt in. Hook up the lines, fill it with oil. I'm going to hold off putting a sight gauge in to see how this thing's going to work first and get an idea where the level is, because it's got to run to get the oil circulated through the motor, because some of the oil is going to stay, you know, in the galleys and everything, and some of it will drain out. A Rotax engine, you normally have to run the prop over backwards until you hear this gurgle, 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 because what it's doing is pushing the oil out of the bottom of the engine up into their tank. It's the exact same thing. So just pushing it over by hand, you get enough leak by compression past the rings that it pushes the oil up and into their tank. So they have to do that before they start them, because they don't have a scavenge pump either. So it all works the same. But as soon as I just got to go buy 5 quarts of oil filter, a gallon antifreeze, straight antifreeze, because I'll mix it 50-50 with distilled water, and then that'll give me everything I need to put the fluids in this. Just all that's left to do is to plug that hole. And then now I've got my plate. I can get the fuel tank made. As soon as that's made, get that in here. I can actually put it in, hook it up, put some gas in it, and then this thing will be ready to fire as soon as that oil tank's on. The coolant's ready. I just got to throw it in and just clamp this down up here, and we should be good to go. And I've got the fitting coming for this, so it's in Warrendale, which is down by Pittsburgh. It'll be here tomorrow, so I'll be able to fix this probably tomorrow night after I get done working. So this weekend I should be able to get this thing machined, get that plate machined for the tank. Again, this is just going to go in like that, and it's just going to be recessed. It's going to stick out. This is 6 3/8. So this is going to stick out about 3/8 of an inch here. So there'll be 1/4 inch stick out here, an 1/8 inch stick in the middle, hole cut in the middle, and the 4 bolts. And then the cover plate on top, just be something like that, with some kind of studs down through it somehow to attach the top plate. On a carburetor, regular carburetor, there's a stud in the middle, but this carb doesn't have that. So I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do there to hold the cover on. And then the cover is going to hang out, so that cable can go in here for the mixture control. But I got plenty of material there to cut that out. Like I said, that's $45. Nothing cheap anymore. All right, everybody. I guess that's going to do her. Kids running around, mini bikes. Hell, when we did that as kids, the cops would always chase us. Alright, I guess that's going to do her. This thing's all kind of sanded up and reinforced, so. Alright, let's get that noisy thing out of here. Alright, I guess that's going to do her. I've already went past my 18-minute mark, so I'm going to have to splice these together. Again, this is all done other than running the pressure line for manifold pressure, which will help control timing. So I'm probably going to use like nylon hard line. If you ever seen PCV or evap system hoses, they sell it in the store. It's a really durable, tough plastic, and they're small, and you can buy it in little spools. So a piece of that, run from there. Use a short piece of rubber hose to hook it up to the nipple off of that map sensor, and then run the hard line, and I'll have to punch a hole in the firewall again. And I wanted to bring it out through here, figuring, well, then when you take this apart, you're not going to be able to get it apart. So I was going to drill out one of those pins and run the tube through there, but it'd have to come all the way out through here, and you'd have to have a splice in there in order to get this off. Everything electrical is right here, other than the battery lugs for the heavy cables for the starter and battery alternator. So that won't work. I'm just going to have to punch another hole through somewhere to run that tube up to there and hook it in. So, all right, I'm going to go. I guess the kid's not going to leave anytime soon. So, all right, everyone. Appreciate you taking time to watch my videos. Feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns, and appreciate the comments everybody's leaving now, and keep them coming. And like I say, if you've never seen my videos, go to my channel and go back through, and there's 10 years worth of videos to watch to get caught up if you're wondering about stuff. So, alright everyone, that's going to do it. I will get this thing uploaded tonight, and I'll probably see you guys again be Sunday. So by Sunday, this should all be done, and it may even be ready to start. So if I can get those part machined for the gas tank, that's the only thing that's going to hold me up from putting fuel to this thing and firing it up. So, alright everyone, I'm going to go, and I will see you guys again on Sunday night. So for now, this is Done or Done out.